These past couple of days in Arantzazu lab have been fantastic. So we've been able to bring together people who are doing lead innovation work, I would say from lead societies even, where we have had a chance to get to know each other and explore how we can create something together that is greater than the sum of our parts. And I think we've came to some interesting places in how we might move forward. So I think of us as an assembly, really. We're an assembly of people who are curating ecosystems of innovation. And in many cases, we could characterize them in some cases as small nations. I might characterize them as leading societies, really, in places that are pushing the boundaries of what's possible, that are helping us to imagination new worlds of possibility. And so something that we've come to, which I love, and that we're going to be experimenting over the next 6 months or so, is the idea of a rehearsal space. Because so many of us in the work that we do is we are trying to rehearse the futures that we want to create. And so it's going to help us if we can do that together a little bit. So just to give you some examples, we'll create a space where we can test ideas with one another, where we can share things that we're developing and get feedback. Or we can even prototype sort of new methods, like I might have some collective imagination or participatory futuring practices that I want to test and have input from others. Or we even had an idea which is around creating citizen assemblies, which include representatives from nature and from future generations. And so we could test that out with each other first in order to then try it out in the broader world. So I think it's going to give us a great opportunity to test things and to rehearse the futures. And then another part of it is that we're building, some of us in smaller groups will be building deep demonstrations of possibility or creating inquiry spaces where we want to go more deeply. So one example of that is together with, I work with Dark Matter Labs, together with Arantzazu Lab, we're going to be exploring the topic of regulatory experimentation for social and ecological transition. And what are the kinds of regulatory tools that we need, and how can we make the changes in order to create the conditions for transition that we need? So this work is important because, well, for many reasons, but this work is important because we are at a novel moment in history where we have to rethink the very foundations of our societies. So much of what we've constructed socially is not what we need in order to move into the future that is ahead of us. And so it means we have to bring our very best selves, our best thinking, and we have to do that collaboratively, and we have to do that in ways that are challenging the norms of society, that are challenging the existing rules of institutions, that are challenging what exists and what we take for granted. And we can only do that well if we do it together, and if we do it with great imagination and a very strong shared sense of a vision for possibility. So I expect to contribute through the work that I'm doing in Dark Matter Labs, and also developing an initiative called 7 Generation Cities. So in Dark Matter Labs, we do a lot of work that is so well aligned with everything we've been talking about the past couple of days. We are working on the future of governance, on building institutions, instruments, infrastructures for the future. And so that aligns very well with this. And also one specific initiative is 7 Gen Cities, where we're doing field building work in order to reimagine cities in different ways and for long-term futures. And again, we can only do that if we do that collectively, collaboratively, bring kind of a balance of collective imagination of what's possible, as well as the systemic, what we call the boring work sometimes of systems change. So how do we change our rules, our laws, our accounting systems, our finance systems in order to build the better futures that we know are possible, but it takes a lot of work to get there collectively.